republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The first item on our agenda is a continued hearing 24-44 for 101 Middlesex Turnpike. Will the applicants please come up to the microphones?
Good evening again. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, pleased to see you all here this evening. For the record, Attorney Mark Vaughn, representing the applicant, Brixmore Property Group, in connection with the property at 101 Middlesex Turnpike. Again, Mike Cornoni, who is the architect of record for the project with HFA Architects. And I know this is a continued public hearing, Mr. Chairman, from the prior hearing that we had at your last meeting, at which time we did provide an overview of the screen wall that was previously approved by the board, and what we had for a concept in terms of what the signage would be on that screen wall. Again, I think that we spent a considerable amount of time walking through the plan in terms of having specified areas on that screen wall within which tenant signs could appear. So the request of the board at the time, I think the board was comfortable with the concept and what we were talking about. However, one thing that was lacking from the application package was the actual kind of the sign specification schematics, which have been submitted by our sign company of record, Alpha Design, which I'm hoping the board all have a copy of or did receive. I did send it to Jen last week for distribution to the board. But what we did with that is we chose one tenant sign, just tenant sign, to give you a sense of what the specifications would be. We chose Yoga 6, which is a tenant that's moving into a portion of the space that was previously vacated by the med, the spa use. So this is meant to give you a representation of what the typical standard sign would be as it would be put onto that screen wall. And again, it specifies that the maximum area of any sign is 2 feet 6 inches in height and 12 feet 3 inches in length. So in no event would any sign be outside of that box, if you would, the 2.6 by 12.3. And this also gives you a sense of what the color of the sign would be, and also how it would appear at night as well. That's what we had intended to do with the two photos that were daytime view and the nighttime view that were included in there. So again, as I mentioned at the initial hearing that we had with you, the intent here is to provide a real clean, neat, uniform approach to the signage, so it's not as much of a hodgepodge as it has been. Obviously, that side of the building today is not aesthetically the most attractive side of a building. And I think what we're proposing, and as I think what you have seen in the renderings and the images prepared by Mike and his group, is a much more attractive design. So, and I did also submit, for the record, Mr. Chairman, some proposed conditions which were similar to what I had been jotting down, and I read to the board when we were before you at that last meeting, and happy to answer any questions, or I could walk through those if it's helpful, but if not, I think that hopefully they might speak for themselves. So, but yeah, happy to entertain any questions or address any comments you might have.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll start questions over here with Rob.
I think it looks good. I got no questions.
Thank you.
Jeremy?
Yeah, so what I'm seeing on the drawings here looks like an illuminated box, and I thought we talked channel letters last time. Is that true, or were we talking the illuminated box that we see?
So it is, there's an aluminum sheet that goes over the box, and that sheet has those channel letters cut out of them.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. That was, oh, I had one other question. So the height of the panels, we had approved the panels at 15 feet. It looks like this is staying at 15 feet, and the signs are not on top of what was approved by the board previously?
That's correct.
That's all.
All set?
Yeah, all set, thank you.
All right. Mark?
I have a question. Haven't you defeated the whole purpose? When you came before us before, you had a screen wall with landscaping.
Yeah.
right? And that was supposed to be aesthetically pleasing and sort of to prevent, the people from looking at, the air conditioning or heating and air conditioning units that were, and now we're adding signage to that screen wall, right? So haven't you really, the whole idea was to make it aesthetically pleasing to have landscaping and
Yeah.
trees and such, so I just think it defeats the purpose of your,
Well, I appreciate the comment, if I could, Mr. Chairman, Mark. I would, to the extent signage is, visually obtrusive, I guess I would agree, but the signage on the side there now of the building, so I think it would be difficult to not have any signage for those tenants when they've had it. I think the screen wall does achieve the purpose that we stated that it would in terms of aesthetic enhancement of that side of the building. You're not going to see all those utility boxes, condenser units, and things like that. And I think the signage that's put onto the screen wall is appropriate in terms of it being, a uniform appearance and a much neater approach. And, just to remind you, Mr. Burke, and the board, is that, we're somewhat hamstrung in that we can't do freestanding signage at this location. It's not allowed under the bylaw, so this is really the only opportunity for those tenants who don't have any, a sign at the front of their entrance on the other side doesn't really accomplish a lot for people that are, trying to find where they are. So we've
but
tried
there
to.
are signs on the back of that building, correct?
Yeah, well, I guess that would be the front of the building, but yeah, yeah.
It's
The signs on
side that's facing Middlesex Turnpike has signs on the back, correct?
Yeah, they're coming off.
the back of the building is what I view to be the side of the building we're talking about here.
Right.
Yeah, right. So those signs that are on the back of the building would be coming off, and they would be put on to the screen wall instead in a uniform, neater, from our perspective, appearance.
And when it was originally brought before the board, was the screen wall the same height, or are you adding to the height line?
No, the size, dimensions of the screen wall are the same that we had presented to the board before, that you had approved.
And are those, is that screen wall, does that go above the roof line?
It,
Yeah, it's about even with the roof line at 15 feet.
So in effect, you'd have to, you wouldn't be able to put any signs on the building, right?
Correct. Yep.
Because your screen wall is blocking the building, correct?
That's correct, yes.
I don't, I'll wait to hear from the other board member.
All right. Joe?
Yeah, as I recall, the meeting we had when we were discussing the screen wall, albeit, it was going to be a freestanding, and we talked about the signage and how the electrical was getting over there, so I'm very, I remember all those conversations, so it's no surprise that I'm seeing these signs here today, so I'm all set with what I see.
All right. You good, Joe?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, so it's a little bit more of an out-of-the-box kind of scenario than what we've done before, and I like it. I like how we're addressing this and creating a once-and-for-all in this iteration of the building. You guys don't have to come up. If there's 16 spots, you don't have to come here 16 times for individual signs. We get this all straightened out, and I'm really a fan of this plan to do it. Something else I noticed before it was brought to my attention, on the cut sheet on the back here, it actually showed the lumens per square foot as being 244. Is that just the maximum capable of that unit? Or is that what you're intending? Because I know it says in all the other locations on the plans, it says not to exceed 90 lumens.
That's correct. Yeah, that would be the maximum capable. So
Okay.
we would limit it to that 90 per square
Okay.
foot, yes.
All right. Yeah. I went through the conditions. I like the conditions. The numbering for 1 through 16, referring to the Middlesex Turnpike side as the west side as far as the compass goes. As far as the east side of the building goes as well, I mean, the signage that is there is appropriate. I want to see what everyone else thinks of that. I would think about making a condition where that signage is allowed by right, but anything else is not allowed by right. Just so the front and the back, if a tenant comes in, they don't have to come before us for a hearing, do anything outside of the scope. You know, your back sign has to meet between that 2'6", 12'3" area, and the front follows the current signage bylaws of what they're allowed in the front of it. Do you have?
Yeah, no, that was the intent of the condition, in the context of, if we have a tenant, and I'll use H&R Block as an example, someone that takes over that space, they currently have a sign at their front entrance, which is facing the parking lot, right? And then they have the sign on the rear of the building. Provided that, the tenant complies with these requirements in terms of the screen wall, the size, the sign has to be within those parameters, it didn't make a lot of sense to us for them to then have to come back and get approval from the board for, a sign that complies with the bylaws at their front entrance, facing the parking lot. So, I guess I had attempted to draft this so that, provided that these screen wall requirements are all met by any prospective tenant, then, any by right sign elsewhere on the building would be allowed by the board. That would be the concept. So obviously, if, someone comes in with a sign that exceeds any dimensional limits or whatever it might be, then they would have to go to the board,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But that would be what the concept would be, that would allow for by right signage at the building if these conditions were met relative to the screen wall.
Okay. Do you gentlemen have any input on that?
I'm fine with that whole big package, that whole one building,
Yeah, Mark?
signage.
I'll say.
All right. So, well, seeing as this is a public hearing, is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak for or against this matter? Seeing none,
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Okay. So, where we have all of this, I have some notes about the east and the west and the plans. I'm going to call for a motion. If you like what I have to say, I guess give me a so moved. I won't burden someone through having to read that off. So do we have a motion to approve 101 Middlesex Turnpike for a sign permit for 16 illuminated signs, not to exceed 2'6" by 12'3" in length, at a height of approximately 11'6" to 14 feet above grade, and signage on the screen wall shall be limited to tenants of 101 Middlesex Turnpike building only, numbered in the screen wall spots numbered 1 through 16 on plans dated 12/23/24. On the west side of the building, no tenant of 101 Middlesex Turnpike shall have more than one sign facing Middlesex Turnpike, whether on the screen wall or the building facing Middlesex Turnpike. Any sign on the screen wall shall be within the 2'6" by 12'3" maximum allowable sign band as shown on the plans, a maximum of 16 signs on the screen wall. Any sign on the screen wall shall be of uniform color and illumination consistent with the specifications shown on attached plans by Alpha Signs dated 2/12/25. Subject to compliance with these conditions, signage on the screen wall and by right signage on the east side of the building shall conform to the current zoning bylaws regarding signage. And no other signs, even if by right, not to exceed 90 lumens per square foot.
Second.
No, you have to say so moved.
Well, sorry to interrupt, can I just ask a question on
Yes.
the last thing you added there about no other signs by, so what was the intent there that, so,
So if something's going outside of the scope of the east side and the west side.
Okay.
If something's going outside of that scope, if someone comes in and says they want a roof sign, let's have a hearing on that.
So just one caveat to it, and I think we had mentioned this at the prior meeting, but on the end of the building, which would be the north end, there's a subtle little tower element there that had, it's being rebuilt right now to be more consistent with the new architectural intent of the building, but title boxing.
Yeah.
2 signs, those have been taken down, they're being put back up once the new tower element is featured, but I just wanted to make sure that would allow those signs to remain as they were previously approved, and so just.
Okay, so I guess I'll take a motion to amend the motion and remove the east part. If everyone's okay with that. Well,
Signage is still facing Middlesex.
let's just start strategically on it. So who gave the so moved?
Joe?
Jeremy said so moved. Who seconded?
Me,
Okay.
on the amendment.
Now we have a motion, we have to vote. So we have to vote no and then re-motion it. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. All right, you guys have to vote. If you don't like that, then you would vote no.
So we vote again. We can vote against.
We're
this
voting,
every
just
time
because the
or-
motion has already been put on the table, we have to vote on it. We want to amend it, so if we
Even
want to amend it, you would vote no.
Even though title boxing is still facing Middlesex Turnpike.
Yeah, this is the north side, so let's just close the motion if this is not what we want to do. We would be voting against it if that's not what we want to do. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're 2-3, so the motion fails. All right, so now let's continue the conversation. So
Okay.
we have the title boxing portion of that, so we want to amend it to not include the word east. So by right signage on business sides, as far as the north side of the building, if you're looking at it, title boxing has the ability to have, I would say a third sign, because they get one on the Middlesex Turnpike side, and they get one on the parking lot side, but there also is another parking lot side facing Staples. Is that what you were talking about, Mr. Vaughn?
Yeah, they have 2 signs that were previously approved by the board on this. There's a photo here, if you can see it, but there's a little tower element that's there that's being redone, so they would just put those same signs back up, and then they have one on their entrance.
Okay, so title boxing would have 3 signs, is what it is?
Correct.
Okay.
So nothing would change from what they currently have, they would just be put back up.
So if you're just taking those signs down, you're doing the work, and you're putting the exact same signs back up in the same place?
Correct, correct, because they're not putting any sign up on the screen wall. So, and if they did, it would defeat one of these conditions, which is no more than 1 sign facing Middlesex Turnpike. And so I guess the only other question, Mr. Chairman, since it's, is so Kava and Tate are going down on this, what would be the south side of the building, down
Yeah.
here on these two corners? I mean, their intent would be to just have compliant first floor level wall signage like any tenant would have. So if the board were so willing to allow them to, as long as they put forth compliant wall signage at their first floor level, consistent with how anyone would do it, even for the, the other, you had mentioned the other tenants that have their parking lot entrances, it would have to comply with whatever sign bylaw requirements. So if it's within the board's discretion to, I guess what I'm saying is any tenant looking to put up a by right sign would be allowed to do so, provided that the terms and conditions of the screen wall were complied with.
Yeah, I think the removal of the word east would solve all of those issues, because that would have a Middlesex Turnpike facing sign. So I know one of the Kava or Tate, they're going to be, one of them's not going to be on the screen wall, one of them's going to be on the building.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So
So would that sign have to come for a permit because it's not?
if they were going for a third sign, they would have to. So if they put one on the screen wall, they can't put one on the building, other than the east side.
Right.
There's no signage going on the tower? Up?
The
entrance?
former Tower Records Tower, if
Yeah.
you would, yeah. No, there's not. That tower is coming down in height. It's not going to be used for signage.
Okay. So I think that would clear up the issue. Do you gentlemen have any thoughts on that? No? So, okay, yeah, looking at that, that is coming down. All right, so I guess I will read that off again and look for a so moved, removing the word east from it. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve 101 Middlesex Turnpike for 16 illuminated wall signs, 2 foot 6 inches in height by 12 foot 3 inches in length, at a height of each at a height of approximately 11 foot 6 to 14 feet above grade on a screen wall? Signage on the screen wall should be limited to tenants of 101 Middlesex Turnpike building only. No tenant of 101 Middlesex Turnpike shall have more than one sign facing Middlesex Turnpike west, whether on the screen wall or on the side of the building facing Middlesex Turnpike. Any sign on the screen wall shall be within the 2 foot 6 by 12 foot 3 maximum allowable sign band as shown on plans, a maximum of 16 signs on a screen wall, numbered 1 through 16 on plans dated 12/23/24. Any sign on the screen wall shall be of uniform color and illumination consistent with the specifications shown on attached plans prepared by Alpha Signs dated 2/12/25. Subject to the compliance with these conditions, signage on the screen wall and other by right signage at the 101 Middlesex Turnpike building shall be allowed, subject to applicable building department requirements and the current signage bylaws.
So move.
No more than 90 lumens per square foot, and no other signs, even if by right, than what is listed. So now I'm ready for the so moved.
So move.
So moved, all right.
Second.
All right. Motion has been made and seconded to approve 101 Middlesex Turnpike for everything I just said. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 500. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you talking through the conditions. And just to be, so when you said that no other signs, even if by right,
That's anything outside of
wall signs?
everything we just talked about.
Okay, so like a roof sign or something?
Yeah, if it's a roof sign or something outside of that scope.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your time.
Yes,
So-
thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay.
Mark, I think you're going to like it when it's finished, all right?
Good luck.
All right.
All right. The meeting of February 4th, who was here?
I was.
Were you here last meeting? Oh, okay. Let me throw my pen at you for it. Rob, did you watch that meeting? Okay, so everyone can vote on these minutes. So everyone got a chance to review the minutes?
Yep.
Actually, there was one question in there about something John had to say. Did he get back to you on that? Well, it's only going to be a couple of weeks, so we may as well hold it and just double check with John, make sure that's all set. So, do we have a motion to continue the minutes of February 4th?
Motion to continue the minutes of February 4th. Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to continue approval of the minutes from February 4th, 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
Motion adjourned. Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Good night.